Right, as some of you know, and some of you don't, my name is Michael Christopher Cruikshank, and this is my criminal complaint in relation to ACC criminally blackmailing me and defrauding me of 14% of 4 years of entitlements that they took from me illegally and unlawfully with criminal intent, following their crimes of acting illegally and lawfully with criminal intent in suspending all my rights and entitlements, rehabilitation, medical treatment needs. Now, I'm going to go through with you exactly why there's a crime. There is a crime because ACC paid that money to Inland Revenue as a 33% tax rate. Now here's the form that I filled in, which you'll be receiving a copy of it. And it's in relation to, it's ticked here, ACC only had permission to pay Inland Revenue 19%. And that's what these tax options for backdated weekly compensation are all about. Now, ACC, this was stamped on the 23rd of March 2014. Now, I haven't been able to do this video before this because I was collecting a lot of information and I only got this the other day. So, and I needed this to make the criminal complaint. Now, ACC overstepped their bounds. They took that 14% that was my money and they paid it to Inland Revenue illegally and unlawfully with criminal intent to do so. Now, the problem there is any arguments I have with Inland Revenue over taxes is my business to have. ACC deliberately paid it to them to try and lay itself with no blame over the 14% that it just defrauded me of. Now, with that in mind, the government are responsible for this. Inland Revenue and ACC are all complicit in this crime. Now, the argument of 14%, not 14%, who's liable for the 14%? Inland Revenue would come to me and I'd tell them to go to fucking ACC and get it. Because legally and lawfully, ACC are the ones who created this situation. But ultimately, government are the people who caused this situation. But ACC tried to literally get away with the crime, not discuss it with me, not give me the forms, not give me the tax details for 4 years. Inland Revenue likewise. So this has been going on and it's taken them 4 years to admit that they actually charged me 14% tax extra. Now, that's not a civil matter. A civil matter is something that you can actually address within civil jurisdictions. You can't address this in civil jurisdictions because there's criminal collaboration and conspiring between government, Inland Revenue and ACC. Now, ACC wants to literally get away with that 14%. Inland Revenue are the people who received that stolen money. And literally it is criminal blackmail under Section B of the Crimes Act. There's no arguing it. There's more than enough evidence to prove that ACC did carry out this crime. Their emails between their departments prove that. And the police need to do a proper, thorough police investigation into that. Now, that's not the only crime that's going on here. Every crime that ever happens in this case is put down to the crimes committed, and then ACC then want to try and turn it into a civil matter while they're holding me criminally to blackmail, criminally to ransom, while not addressing my injuries and while not addressing my rehabilitation or adhering to the laws and legislation. Some of it's civil, most of it's criminal. Now, the fact that this case was declared an act of war against me by Detective Shane Page back in 2007, the fact that there was a secret meeting held at Parliament prior to that, which I wasn't informed of, well, I had to find out through official information requests, and then all the criminals then came running round the door trying to get back to their intimidation and threats and violence and provocations. which I'm sure your police department knows well enough about anyway. But what I'm going to do is, the crime is criminal blackmail by ACC. This form proves beyond any reasonable doubt there is a crime to answer for. Any civil actions or any civil arguments that I have with Inland Revenue are between me and Inland Revenue. But Inland Revenue and the government are complicit in this crime. So there needs to be a criminal charge brought against the government, Inland Revenue and ACC collectively. Because I am not responsible for 14% extra tax, because one of their departments, ACC, was acting illegally and lawfully with criminal intent. And I'm not funding public-private criminal prosecutions as I'm always expected to do by these vigilantes, because that, again, in itself is criminal blackmail under Section B of the Crimes Act. So I'm going to leave this video now just at this, but I'm going to run you through everything else that's gone on in this case, because it's not an isolated incident. This is 18 years of criminalities, 18 years of crimes against me, 18 years of fear, violence, abuse, threats, intimidation, harassment, criminal harassment, violent assaults, state criminal kidnapping, fraud, more fraud, more fraud, more fraud. Because this isn't the first time they ever stopped my entitlements, illegally and unlawfully with criminal intent. And when I run through it all, you'll get a gist of exactly what I'm saying. There's been no criminal investigations into ACC Crown or Government up until now. But this is one thing that better be addressed as a criminal matter. I will not put up with any more obstructing or perverting the courses of justice by the police, by the Crown Law Office, by the Cabinet of Ministers, by the Ombudsman's Office, or by any commissioners. So that's basically telling you straight that I'm not going to put up with any more obstruction from the police or from anybody else involved. I want a proper, full and thorough criminal investigation. I do know for a fact that it needs a Royal Commission of Inquiry, but that's a matter for government to decide whether they're going to give it to me or not. And yeah, I need an honest cop for a change to actually deal with this, because I think I've dealt with more than enough corrupt cops over the years. And when people declare acts of war against an injured victim and leave an injured victim with more injuries, I'll go through all that later anyway. But this is the actual criminal complaint here, and I'm going to leave it at that. And I'll drop this off, or I'll get somebody to drop it off for me, because I suffer post-traumatic stress as well. And I have to go and get some treatment overseas anyway, so I'll be leaving the country. And I'll be taking care. I'll be trying to get myself away from all the stress and all the trauma, all the conflicts, all the abuse and violence, away from the being held criminally to blackmail and ransom at all times. And yeah, I need some respite, to be quite honest, because I've reached the end of my road with a whole fucking lot of it. But anyway, you'll have a good rundown by the time I'm finished. This is the end point. And since this end point, I've just gone through another 4 years, no rehabilitation plan, no investigations into my injuries. I have discovered that all my ACC files have been destroyed. All the evidence was destroyed. I've discovered that all my medical notes and medical files got destroyed upon the death of Dr. Brett Roach for alleged suicide, which actually happened straight after McGreevy threatened them, along with a few others within this administration and organisation. So it wouldn't surprise me if the police were involved in that too, in Crown Law Office and all the rest of it. Do I believe he committed suicide? No, I don't. I really don't. But anything's possible. But I don't believe he committed suicide, because they alleged he committed suicide on the same day that my trial was supposed to begin. I'll go through all that, although in another videotape. But this form is the evidence that ACC acted illegally and unlawfully with criminal intent to defraud me of 14% of my money and give it to a third party without my consent, and that was to avoid their own liability, and in turn criminally blackmail me and defraud me of 14% of my income for 4 years. Okay, so I'm going to put this on a stick, and then I'm going to put the other videos that I do after this on a stick. I can't really do long periods of time anyway, because it's just like I can't even turn my head. It's that bad, and that happened because the police attacked me in the back of a police car, and I haven't been able to hardly drive my car or anything else since. So it hasn't been an easy road. Some of you won't like what I have to say, but I really don't give a fuck whether you like it or not. It's the truth, and it's the facts, and it's the evidence. And I'm sick of being singled out, isolated, alienated. I'm sick of being set up for crimes I didn't commit. I'm sick of being facing a lynch mob because that's what they behaved as. I'm sick of facing vigilantes because that's what they behaved as. And I'm sick of dealing with state terrorists because that's all they are. Fraudsters, serial violators and rapists of people's lives. And they did all this in the name of rehabilitation. And the main culprit involved in it all is Gerard McGreevy, the one that you tried to turn into a victim, when all he is a terrorist. And then there's a lot of other top people involved as well, that they're all trying to move to the one side. But what was it Kerry Kay said to me before he retired? They're just trying to buy time, Michael. Well, this time is my life, and it's my quality of life, and it's my health and well-being. And I think it's time that I get justice and accountability for the crimes that have been committed against me. So nobody else does a 19-year prison sentence under ACC unless they commit murder and they end up in prison. ACC is no different to a prison, believe me. And all your actions are no different to vigilantism and state terrorism, abuse, threats, intimidation and violence, and literally defrauding a victim of 30-40% of their income, plus whatever their legal cost is, which can amount to millions in this case. So literally I'm not being compensated anything if you put all my legal fees and everything else on top of it. I'm actually being defrauded every step of the way and criminally blackmailed. But that's what happens when you're under an organised crime run organisation in an organised crime run country, where everybody wants to be a fucking victim, except for the only people who are not allowed to be victims are the victims who are victims, like myself. But that's well proven fact. But then again, Tehri wasn't a victim either, was he? David Bain wasn't a victim either, was he? You know, that's how the corruption in this country works. And I don't care what he's like, what I have to say. I will be demanding criminal charges against everybody involved. And I won't be accepting it's a civil matter, because it's not a civil matter. Okay. I'll leave it at that, gentlemen and ladies, or whoever you are. And I hope you get a good gist of what I have to say, because it's all factual and it can all be proven. And we'll see where we go from there.